Good evening, I'm Sharaad Kuttan and welcome to Let's Talk, the show that brings you the most important conversations of the day. Today I'm at Tristan Cafe in Kuching Sarawak and my guests are Opah, Azhfar and Roy Kulleh, aka Kulleh Grassi, poet. They're members of Nading Rhapsody, a group that's made waves for people who've actually heard their music, an extraordinary sound that's based on both traditional music and their interpretation of it. So thank you so much for being on Let's Talk. You were recently at Georgetown Lit Fest, and if anybody had attended it, they would have heard you play there. Let's introduce you to an audience. I know there's just two of you. You're just a quarter of an 8-person band. So Roy, maybe you could help me by kind of naming all the members and telling us a little bit about yourself first, and then get Opah in the story as well.
Yeah. So anyway, thank you, Sharaad. My name is Royston John Kulleh. Anak saya bisa kabang a really long name. So people used to call me Roy, and my alter name is Kulleh Grassi. I'm a poet as well as a singer-songwriter for Nading Rhapsody. I was born and raised first here in Sarawak, originally from Kapit, Song Kapit. And yeah, just like the rest of other members of Nading Rhapsody, we all are
you from
not really a youngster.
Are you from various parts of Sarawak? Because the one thing I think that's probably true of most of us from the peninsula, or some of us from the peninsula, is that probably don't have a good geographical sense of Sarawak, because it's a huge state. I think it's bigger than the peninsula itself, right? So, Opah, where do you come from in Sarawak?
Well, I'm actually born and bred in Kuching. But
so you're a city girl?
I'm a city girl, born and bred in Kuching. But my background, my mother is from Berita, Sarawak, and my father is from Kampong Gita, also in Kuching. But their background backdate to Bintango, Sarike, so it's a different part of Sarawak. It's more towards the Cebu part where his family is currently residing. And as you mentioned, there's 8 of us. There's only 2 of us. Another person who is also a vocalist, just like the 2 of us, is Chris Sheldon.
He's a bidayu.
He's a bidayu. He's also a city boy from Kampong Bumbo, Kuching.
It's a bidayu village. Yeah.
And then there's
Roy.
There's Roy G. Another Roy G. He plays our electric guitar, and he is from his family is in Kuching. And there's Steve. He plays the drum, and he's also from Kuching. And there's Adrian, our percussionist. He's born and bred in Kuching, a city boy, but the family, the father is from Simunjan, and the mother is from Singai.
Half-breed, bidayu Haniban.
Half-bred.
Okay, so have we exhausted the list of band members?
There's another 2.
Another 2.
Okay. There's Tenny, Ibadayu from Kuching also. And who else did I left out? I've actually spoken about all
Randy.
8 of us. There's Randy, our Sape player.
Guy.
Okay, Sape. And because Sape, perhaps if you think of musical instrumentation, you think of Sarawak, Sape has now become kind of the iconic instrument, isn't it, for kind of music from this part of Malaysia. I do want to ask you though, I mean, is your ethnic background in any way a determinant of the kind of music that you like, or the kind of music that you're creating? Is it a conscious effort to weave in different musical traditions within that that exist in Sarawak, or is it something that you're just coming up on your own, Roy?
Well, actually, there are various other string instruments, not just sape, but since of course, it's because of the the introduction of the media through sape. So, and of course, the sound of the sape itself. But of course, there are so many other string.
Yeah, there are a lot of
musical
other
instruments,
instruments.
just like
from
Berita,
Sarawak.
right? Or something.
Yeah.
Okay, so were you trained? I mean, just very quickly, were you trained in music, Opah?
No.
So you don't have any musical training?
No.
Roy, do you have
No.
any musical training?
No.
Okay, and I know, Roy, you're a school teacher, and Opah, you're an executive in a private firm. This is as much as you would reveal to me. Okay, or I could find on the internet. Now, so you don't have a musical background, or don't have formal training at least. So how did you come to music, Opah? I mean, what brought you to and you're a vocalist within the band. I mean, but I understand you also contribute to the composition and the creation of the sound. How did you come to music?
I've actually been singing since, well, this is a bit cliche, but people say that they've been singing since they're young. But it's true because initially my background of music is quite different from what we do today.
Yeah, each one
All of us. I was first introduced to, of course, we were all introduced to ballad and then pop and then jazz, right up until I met world music. The same goes with Roy. He's a
poppy guy.
Yeah, he's a ballad and pop guy.
The late 80s, is it? 90s, okay. Britney Spears, okay.
So the same goes with the rest of the guys. We were all introduced to different types of music, but there was a calling that we had in somewhere in 2011 and 2012 where we find a different path in music. Something intrigues us, and it's like a switch. Suddenly we realize that apart just from playing music, you have to know where does your path goes.
Okay. I want to ask you this though, one of the other things we associate, at least in musical terms, with Sarawak is the Rainforest Festival, the world music. Did that festival itself and the fact they brought bands from around the world, and I've been to some of them, I remember a Mongolian band and this all kinds of wonderful musicians from around the world. Did that have an impact on you? Did you attend those festivals, Roy? Did it have an impact on you?
Yeah, of course, because throughout this year, I mean, we were involved in 2012 and 2014 with Rainforest World Music Festival, and then, of course, we learned a lot from other musicians around the world. Of course, the biggest impact was we share our sounds, and then technically we learn how to deliver it put it in the right sounds, because we are in this modern era. We need to put the traditional sounds in the right state.
I have to say that the world-renowned Rainforest World Music Festival has played a big part of our journey during the first few years, because our involvement through the Rainforest World Music Festival has opened us up and showed us to the different types of people from all parts of the world and how they project the term world music.
Yeah.
What we see in Sarawak is just when you say traditional music, people would see it as music to welcome people, or say to say goodbye. People play it at corporate functions, but people don't see it as something that can be marketed outside of Sarawak.
Wonderful. We'll take a short break and we'll be back for more. Stay tuned to Let's Talk. Welcome back to Let's Talk. I'm Sharaad Kuttan. With me, Opah, Azhfar, and Roy Kulleh. They're both members of Nading Rhapsody, a band that's come out of Sarawak. It's come out of a particular experience. And Opah, you ended the last segment telling us about the Rainforest Festival and basically the challenge it posed or the opportunities it posed for you as a musician. Now you have and unless people have heard you, I mean, you have an extraordinary voice, and you say you're not trained. Do you personally model yourself and your singing on anybody? What are your musical influences?
Personally, for myself, okay, I would say that on stage and off stage, I'm a different person. When I'm off stage, I'm what you see today. But when I'm on stage, there's a different character that I would pick. This character usually derives from the songs or the music that we were playing, because each song and music and the lyrics that was performed during that time comes from a very different set of experiences. So that's where I get my energy from. And most part of it is because I don't have a professional training, so it goes with the more and more practice.
But is there somebody, a musician that you loved as you're growing up, who shaped your voice? I mean, I know we're all endowed with the voices we have, but it can change, and you can mimic and you can model. Is there anybody that you would credit for the sound that you produce?
Well, musically, no. But
You can reach for a pop reference. It's okay. We won't think any less of you if you say Britney Spears, which is obviously the last reference I know, or Tina Turner.
my first reference was Norah Jones, actually, and the next person is Neka. Not many people have heard of her, but she's the modern jazz singer. Both Norah Jones and Neka are two different types and sets of voices and character, but they both play the same music.
Right.
One is a bit slow, smooth, and one is a bit rebellious. And these are the two traits that I have actually on stage.
Okay, so you got
you
for that. So it sort of gels with your personality. Norah Jones, of course, the daughter of the famous sitar player Ravi Shankar. Roy, tell us about you. And you, I know, you sing as well, but you contribute to the chanting and the lyrics. You're a poet yourself. Who do you model yourself on? I mean, is there influence?
Well, there's a lot actually, but previously, before reforming Nading Rhapsody, we all used to play in the club, different club, as a singer, as a musician. So of course, all this music influence our daily taste of music. So just like me and myself, I don't know, I like Josh Groban, Frank Sinatra. This is because...
Oh, those are crooners.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because they all have that type of voice, the bass voice.
So by listening to them, but of course we can't put them in particularly in the sounds of the world music, but the principle of the emotions. So as well, when I wrote songs, I composed some lyrics and poems. It's all came from the narrative of our daily life, the stories that we shape. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's very interesting, because it also allows me to kind of mention the fact that Nading is a reference to an Iban myth, a warrior who goes on a journey, I believe. And tell us about it. Why Nading? Why that particular mythology? How was it inspirational?
From day one, actually, because this is really personal to us. Because as we mentioned earlier, we all grew up in the city, and we lack of the knowledge and the roots of ourselves. How do we identify ourselves as indigenous? As an indigenous youngster back in the days, we're still young.
Yes, I am young.
Yeah, and then we started to pick up and to learn from the elder about where we came from, the sounds, the image, and then because of the religion, it shaped most of the indigenous community to be, I can say that, did they neglect the image of the real indigenous people? No.
So when you would say religion, you mean Christianity primarily, right? Okay, so you're reaching for mythology, you're going back past that layer of maybe Christianity that many of you share in common. how does it help you create the music? It was traditional music also feeding off those mythologies, Opah?
Actually, what I would say is that when we had that call in 2011 and 2012, we figured that all of us are lost and we don't know ourselves and our identity, our roots. We're somehow lost at that point of time. So when we get back to our own roots, it somehow feeds our energy at that time, and of course up until today. So, but when you say things about traditionals and rituals and the things that we are adapting to our music now, you cannot take everything in, because you can only take some parts, because when you talk about rituals and all practices, these are all taboos. And if we bring out the whole thing, we have a lot of things to answer to our parents and our elders, because not everything is supposed to be performed as a performance, because these are rituals and there are reasons why people do this.
It's sacred.
Sacred. Just like when we talk about one of our songs called Sabak Pulai, I would refer to that because Sabak Pulai is actually an adaptation of Poem of Lamentation. So when you say Poem of Lamentation, it's usually used in a funeral. So you cannot just simply perform it suka-suka, you know, whenever you like. But which is why we would say it's an adaptation. We put it into a performing arts so that it is more adaptable, people can connect more, and if it intrigues you, you would want to know more about it, and only then you can do some more research on it. What are the rituals?
Right. I do want to ask Roy, just very quickly, has anybody ever accused you of exploiting your own traditions and history for the music, that somehow you shouldn't be going there, you should be doing something else?
Yeah, of course, it's a lot do's and don'ts from our parents and then the elderly from the family. But as a young adult today, you really have a strong curiosity to learn. So there's no boundaries. It's just that you need to select which and which to be bring out to the next level and how. Yeah. And of course, we did ask from the people from the village about how it sounds like, where this come from, the story from the myth and everything. And then that is how we learn. By learning every day, daily, you put yourself in as a musician as well as a normal young adult. So we need to at least have this as a basic knowledge for you to identify yourself.
Okay, so that's a good defense. You're off the hook. Okay, we're going to take another short break. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Let's Talk. I'm Sharaad, with me Opah and Roy, members of Nading Rhapsody. We're here in Kuching, Sarawak. Very interesting, Opah, when you said the Song of Lamentation, and because I heard it, I thought to myself, well, this is really very serious music. I mean, it's not something you'd hear in a club, it's not something that's light, but you had different songs in the evening that I heard you. So I know there's a range that you produce, but one end of that spectrum is this really dense sound and really serious kind of emotional communication that you seem to have with the audience. How does it go down with your audiences? I mean, who's listening to you? Why are they listening to you? And who's not listening to you? And, you know, what's the challenge of listening to the music that you're producing, that Nading Rhapsody is producing?
When we're producing the music, the first thing to listen to is the emotions that was projected through the lyrics. If anyone's to blame, it's Roy. But yes, each song, especially Sabak Pulai, it has weight, and the contents of the lyrics is serious. because we're talking about people who are no longer here with us, and we hope the best for them and that they would go to the next life smoothly or in a good way. So these are the things that are not to be, I would say, not to be performed in functions that are like, we used to have people who wants us to play that song during a birthday party,
during a birthday
or
party,
during a corporate functions to welcome the delegates. So it's not appropriate. But if you say, if you want to know who will listen to us, which is why these kind of musics, we cannot play them at pubs or clubs as people would ask, because it's not appropriate. It simply is not. But there are places that we can play these musics, just like music festivals or literature festival, where people are more towards delving into what the words are, the meanings, the connections, and also the music itself.
I want to ask you, I mean, how much educating have you had to do with your music? How much have you had to try and shape musical taste or appreciation for what you're trying to do? Have you had a lot of interviews that required you to explain what you're trying to do? Because it's not immediately kind of the genre that you might put it in. It's a curious one, right?
Of course, it's countless questions about what's the meaning and why does it sound this way and that way. But actually, it's a good sign, and it's one of the process for us to educate our listener and our potential listener to know about ourselves. That's why, as we mentioned earlier about the sounds that you heard from the YouTube.
Yeah.
Or live is totally different. It doesn't give any justice to our sounds actually.
Most of the songs that people heard of us in YouTube, especially, after they saw us performing live, they would say that it doesn't do justice to what they have seen live. I would agree to that because yes, because we are so used to playing live throughout all these years, and when it comes to like audios from studios or videos from studios or interviews, it's keeping us how do you say, restricted.
Right, but you are going to be cutting an album soon.
Yeah.
Is that true?
Hopefully.
Yeah.
Okay, so when is that planned for?
Well, it's supposed to be this year, but
There's not much left of this year.
yeah, it's supposed to be released this year, but yeah.
A lot has happened
Yeah.
throughout all this year.
2020 will be the right year. So I mean, just wait for
The album come out.
Yeah.
I want to ask you very quickly, the really strange situation you have where you're performing abroad, you travel to perform, but you don't have a space here in Kuching to perform, and you're not much heard here. So how do you, I mean, as somebody from here and a musician for whom the music is about the here, how do you feel, Opah?
I don't feel, after a lot of years, I don't feel very much stressed out about it, because if I would say in a cliche way, people would say that when you go out and then you come back, then you'll be recognized. But we try to move away from that sentiment towards the years. I would say that if we get to play abroad first, and second is our home, we will still take it as a good opportunity, because maybe you would see that outside people have never listened to this music, they've never heard of us, they've never seen our culture, our ethnicity, they've never experienced it. So they would want to see it because they've never seen it. When something is new to you, you're like, you're curious. But when you're here, maybe people are used to it, or maybe people would have expected what to expect. But I would say that in defense, that our music is different from what you would say as a traditional, real traditional music, because over the years we've developed a lot on our music, and contents and weights are our most expensive elements now.
Okay, thank you so much. Unfortunately, we've run out of time, but it's been wonderful. The next time we'll get the whole band on, and maybe we'll try and actually get some music going. So thank you so much, both of you, for being on the show. I've been speaking to Opah, Azhfar, and Roy Kulleh, aka Kulleh Grassi, who's come out with a book of poetry, now translated from the original, which is a mix of languages from Sarawak into English. And that's going to be available at all good bookstores around the corner from where you are. I'm Sharaad Kuttan. I'm speaking from Tristan Cafe in Kuching, Sarawak. This has been Let's Talk, only on Astro AWANI.